Okay, got it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, we are live on YouTube. Want me to share? Let me paste it here. I need to mute here because I can hear myself. How do I mute it? Okay, I know what to do. Let me do it on my phone so that I can track. Admin. We have 2 minutes to open the doors. Okay. Mash, I'll need you to just say hello and welcome to the few people that would. I would step out just briefly.
Yep.
This one down here. Okay. Are you all set? I can share my screen. I have a slide. I can share my screen with.
Yeah, you can share the screen. I'm set up. I tested this already.
Okay, let me know what you can see.
I can see the poster for the.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what you should see.
Okay.
Yeah, let me open the rooms. People can just come in. Hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
I think they're all on mute. I'm just looking at the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see one person is on mute, so they can actually unmute themselves if they want to. Okay, I'll be back shortly.
So while you're joining everyone, good night. No, it's probably good afternoon or good evening. You can drop in the chat where you're joining from. Are you hearing? Can anyone confirm that you're hearing me? Because I notice everyone. Okay, thank you. So while we're waiting on Ogi to get back, just drop where you're joining from in the chat. Let's keep it active. How was your day? Everyone is on video and on mute. Darren with Nova Scotia. Tayo. Is it Tayo? I'm actually in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
That's great. Good evening and hello to
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Thanks for putting this together. This is look forward to having a great time and instructive session. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Mash.
Hi. I was trying to get them to drop where they're joining from. Tayo, I think I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
Mhm.
Did mention.
Hi, Maria Noel. Hello, Imelda. Hi, Abidimi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so blessed. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, we're also streaming on YouTube. If you want to share the link, I'll just quickly share it here
Sure.
in the chat for anyone. You might have someone. Hi, Olamide. Good evening. Hi, Samuel. Hi, Ijoma. Good evening.
Good evening, okay.
Thanks for
Good
joining
evening,
us.
okay.
Okay, we're going to start shortly. I hope you have your questions. Please drop your questions in the chat. What do you want to know about organizational change management? Today it's Q&A. Marsha is going to do little or no presentation today. So you see, she's all prepped up, made up for your questions. So please do not cut her expectations short. Just bring up your questions. And someone remind me to record this. I remember the last webinar we had, there was one day I didn't record and people have not forgiven me for that.
Well, you probably should.
Okay, I was trying to get the YouTube, the link for YouTube. Let me just do that very quick.
I think you already shared it earlier. You want to reshare it again? I can send it
Yeah,
out.
I'm not sure. Yeah, so there's this thing that happens with Zoom. When any message that was shared before people join, they don't get to see it.
Oh,
So
okay.
guys, I've reshared the link. You can join if you want to join. You can share with your networks if they want to be part of this. Okay. Mash, I think we should. I don't know if Marsha needs an introduction, but I might just as well introduce her. Good evening, everybody, once again, and thanks for joining us. Let me stop sharing also so that we can. Guys, please turn on your videos if you don't mind, but feel free if you want to stay behind the scenes, it's okay too. Mash, you can share your screen, right, in case you need to show any illustrations. You want to confirm that before I start recording here?
Okay. Okay, just confirm that you're seeing it.
Yeah, I can see it. Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. I'll introduce Marsha very quickly and then we can jump in so that we can maximize our time together this evening. So some of you already know Marsha. She's our lead trainer for the OCM, Organizational Change Management training. She has lots of years of experience working as a business analyst, working in the IT space. She's also lots of experience helping organization, big organization, implement their OCM strategy, help manage change for complex projects, making sure the change is understood by users, adopted, and even sustained post-implementation. Today we are here to just, take questions around practical OCM. I've had people reach out to me, oh, I'm preparing for an interview. I've never really practiced OCM before. And how do what is it like? What is the day-to-day like for an OCM analyst or an OCM manager and all of that? So today we don't want it to be one way, like Marsha pushing information down from her to you like we did the last webinar. But we want it to be very interactive. Like we want you guys to drive the conversation today. So what we did before today was to reach out to people to say, oh, do you have questions? What questions do you have on your mind, so that Marsha can think about it and prepare to respond to it. And we got quite questions. So we're going to start off with those questions, and please begin to drop your questions in the chat. What if guys, no question is done here. If you feel you are too shy to ask it, you can just direct message me and I won't mention your name and I'll ask the question. Okay, so I would start by okay, so Marsha has some outcomes for this webinar. She says she expects you at the end of this webinar to be able to understand the operational realities of organizational change management, and also identify how to navigate as you move forward in understanding what it is day-to-day life of a change practitioner. I hope we're going to meet that expectation and even more for you all here. So please, again, we want this to be very interactive. Put in your questions. Put in your questions. So Marsha, I'm going to go with the first one. And in fact, I don't even need to go far. I posted it earlier today. So the question goes thus. I am new to change management. I'm a new change management analyst. I don't have so much experience. I got employed. I was thrown into a massive IT project. Where do I start? Who do I talk to? Okay, let me hold my question. I think Marsha wants to.
No, that's fine. I'll answer. I'll answer the question. But before I proceed, though, okay. I think one of the things that I wanted to understand from the group here, you remember that poll question, how many persons actually understand change management? I want to get an understanding of the group here in front of me today, right?
Okay.
Before
Okay.
I address that question.
Thanks for, I'm excited. I just want to jump right into the question and answer. Thanks for catching me. So guys, I'm just going to launch the poll questions, and please, we have limited time. I would appreciate if you can quickly respond to the poll. Let's do it in 1 minute or less if we can, please.
I see Abby. Is it 1 minute yet?
47 seconds. We have 12 more seconds. Hi, Abby. I see you.
Hi, good evening.
How was your day?
Fine, thank you. Hi, Marsha.
Hi, Abby.
Okay. I think I'll end it now. How do we share results? Okay, I'll share results now. Marsh, can you see the results?
Yes. Are you seeing it on the screen? No?
No, I'm not seeing it on the screen. Can you, how are you seeing it? Maybe you want to stop sharing. I don't know how it shows up. I'm not sure here. I'm sharing. Can you see the results?
I can see the results.
Okay, can any other person see the results? So we have 11% says I have done some change management work. 8% says I've heard about it from colleagues, and 11% says no clue.
Okay. All right. So this is good information. So before I answers Ogi's question, one of the things I kind of want to explain is that you will hear me say change management, you'll hear me say organization change management, and you'll hear me say OCM. All these three terms that I'm using throughout the course of the night is actually the same thing. So I just want to bring some context into what I'm doing till I'm sharing. Okay, let me know when time you're seeing my screen again, right?
Okay.
And for
Yeah, I can see.
it was the 11 was it was 11% that said they had no clue about organization change management, right?
Yes.
Okay, so for those persons that don't have any clue about organization change management, what an organization change practitioner do is to go into organization, they work with teams, and they applied a structured approach in terms of helping people with projects, changes that are being introduced into the organization, right? So you work a certain way today, and the practitioner try to find out information about the project, what is changing, and kind of develop plans to help the persons who are impacted by the change to navigate those changes for the organization to reach the future state. I'm hoping that is clear, but that is what change management is. We're helping people to move from one state to the next, to a change state. All right, Ogi. So back to your question. You want to repeat it? I just started a project and
Okay, let me open it here. So I'm a new change management analyst with limited experience, and I was thrown into a massive tech project. Where do I start? Who should I speak to? What should I do? Where do I run to for help?
Okay. So normally, if I hear the word, the role change analyst, I am going to think that this is a junior change practitioner that is being assigned to a project, right? If I'm a junior change practitioner assigned to a project, you are working with a team of people. You're probably working with a change program manager, a change specialist. So for a junior person, I will start with the person, the change resource on the project that I am working with to kind of to understand what the project is about and what the expectations are, right? If I'm a more senior role, as because you said analyst, I automatically think it's a junior role. If it's a more senior role where they title you change manager or change specialist, it's key to start with the project manager who you are working with, your business sponsor. So you start with the project manager because most likely when you're when you're starting an organization, they're going to introduce you to your project manager. And your project manager should present you with a project charter, a project briefing, and you'll have conversations with the project manager who owns this project, who is the sponsor of this project, right? In the project charter, you should also find this information. Ogi, it was
So
about
I
a
have
three parts of that question. You want to break it down?
Yeah. Okay, so now you said that role is an analyst role. What if it's a change manager role, or I don't know any other title, that whatever title it is, you are thrown into a change project and you are supposed to help them implement or manage all the organizational change management activities.
Yeah, so that's why I differentiated earlier, right? If you're a junior person, I will start with the specialist or the program manager that is on it. If you're a senior person, you go straight to your project manager, right? And your business sponsor. But maybe you don't know your business sponsor right away. But more than likely, you will be introduced to a project manager. You are gonna ask the project manager a few questions about the project in terms of what is the project about, what is it that the business is trying to change, who is the owner of this project. So some basic questions. Also request the project charter, right? So that's the difference between the two roles, right? The senior role will go to the manager, the project manager. The junior role will try to work with that other change resource, the more senior change resource on that project team.
Okay, so now if it's a junior change resource like the change analyst role, and there is no change manager, no senior change analyst role, go directly to the change. I believe they have to go to where they have to go to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Now I think you started answering the other part. For example, another question that came to mind was that, okay, now you've told me who I should go to, where I should go to, but what kind of questions will I ask them? I don't even know where to start from. What should I do?
Right. So one of the things that you asked me to look into, again, and before I answer that question, I'll just draw some attention to it, is that what are the realities of organization change management on a day-to-day? So a practitioner responsibility or things that they have to do is typically explaining or teaching teams within an organization, employees, about exactly what OCM is and what it brings to the table. One of the things practitioners try to do is always trying to get information, trying to understand change impacts on organization. Like, so a project is being introduced, what's the impact of this project on teams? Getting leadership support. So a change practitioner needs to figure out on a day-to-day basis how they are going to get leadership support. They have to work with project management team. Sometimes there is a balance that they have to strike. What is it that the change manager need to do versus what the project manager have to do? Another thing is, resourcing, figuring out how many resources we need on a project, whether it's people resource or funding to kind of execute on some of the activities. Another thing that is just understanding the flow of information, getting buy-in and engagement, and just understanding that not all change are the same, understanding that there are several changes happening at the same time within an organization, and they have to constantly plan and action their plans. So these are some of the realities. And people on this call might say, oh, but this is what I've been doing in my regular job, right? These are some of my realities as well. So in tackling these realities, and I'm going to go back to your question, you ask, what are some of the questions that someone will need to ask in order to understand the project, right? So a change practitioner, one of the key tasks that a change practitioner have to do is to conduct change readiness. And what is change readiness? Is to understand exactly where an organization is at. So some of the key questions, I'm just going to flip to the slide where I have these questions, right? Some of the things that a practitioner need to ask is like, what exactly is the change? So you're assigned a project. I just get hired. I am being placed on a project team. What is that project trying to do? What is the project all about? Right? What is the scope of the project? These are a few questions that can help you to kind of gather information. What time is the business thinking of implementing that change? How many employees are impacted by the change? So I have around 16 questions here that a change practitioner, these are key questions that a change practitioner need to ask to kind of set up themselves for success and to help leaders and other people leaders in implementing and navigating the challenges of change management. Right? So did I answer the question, okay?
Yes, I think you did you did awesomely well, even with these slides that kind of suggest questions. And guys, if you are here, I know you might, for me, I would have grabbed a screenshot of this slide here, and put as part of my arsenals for work. Yeah, I think this is so great. So even if I start out new, of course, that tension, you are tense, you are meeting new set of people and you don't have so much experience, you get intimidated. But if you have something like this that guides you to schedule meetings with the PM, with the project sponsor, or anyone that is available, and begin to elicit information using this question, that would kind of help you settle into the project and then begin to think of the next steps.
Yeah, and I need to so these questions here, we have what is called, as I said before, the change readiness assessment, right? And these questions really is try to understand exactly how ready an organization is for the change and kind of to give you an understanding of the bigger picture. One of the things I must mention, you will see this and they'll say, okay, there are 2 stages to readiness. And at the early stage of the project, these are the questions you would ask at the early stage of the project. But if I'm employed and I'm being assigned a project that is already in flight, right? It's important for a change practitioner to also get answers to these questions. Your plans might look different depending on where you are in the project, but you still need to understand the scope of work, understand the change that is happening, the number of people that is impacted, the timeline of the change. These are key things that no matter what stage you're introducing a project, you as the practitioner, or the reality of a practitioner is that they need to know these things. Right? Or answers to these questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying. I actually you initially mentioned change readiness, and you said it was the initial one, and I wanted to maybe get you to talk about the latter readiness, change readiness too, kind of maybe pre-go live and all of that. But the explanation you gave right now about when they are new on the project and the kind of questions they should ask was very informative. Okay, any questions from anyone? Do we have any questions yet before I continue with the list of questions we got before the start of the webinar? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat and no questions on YouTube yet. So let's continue with another question I had here. So I got one very interesting question. I think it was an interview question she was asked, and she threw it at me. She wanted to hear how I would answer it. So what is it what is the day to day, or what is a typical day like for a change manager? What does a change manager's day look like typically?
A lot of meetings with stakeholders. All right, so a change practitioner, right? What you're working with a project team or operational team, and I'll say you'll start your work by trying to understand what the project is about and the stakeholders who are impacted. Then you will schedule meetings with different stakeholders to kind of understand how stuff work today, right? So you can establish how the stakeholder will be impacted. Once you have this information, you take this information, dissect it, of course, and make plans in terms of how you're going to action it. So from a change practitioner perspective, you're trying to understand the change, and there are a few plans that you have to build out. And these plans come into play depending on the change that is in front of you. So you know you have your change management action plan, and your change management action plan is like a project management plan, right? You have to collect information and build out a change strategy. And this might happen over a couple of weeks because you're talking to different stakeholders to understand their current state and their future. And you will have an idea of the future state because the project will tell you, okay, this is going to be that big change, right? But once you start to have conversation, like different sessions with whether you're going to schedule an interview or a workshop kind of session, you'll understand how it's going to impact different teams. So you have to build out whether training plans for that team or communication plans for the different stakeholders that are impacted. You'll identify leaders in the pack, and sometimes you're working with different leaders. You might have to build out a coaching plan as a change practitioner. So there are different plans. You identify points of resistance. So you have to conduct workshop to kind of identify those early resistance points, and then turn what you've identified, you have to turn that out into like action plan. So how can I prevent this from happening? Or am I going to accept this risk? And if I accept this risk, what is it that I'm going to do about this acceptance, right? Or your mitigation plan for anything that needs to happen. So basically you talk to people every day and try to understand what's going on and think about a plan, how we can engage, communicate, and train.
Yeah, very interesting. I'll just quickly share the perspective I gave her, but I think I like your response. So the next time I'm going to fine tune my response. So when she asked me, I was like, I felt maybe the interviewers were trying to gauge our understanding about how OCM works, and I told her there is no particular way. You can't wake up one day and say you have this is what you do every day as an OCM specialist. It depends on the project you are on, the type of project, and the phase of the project. So for example, I broke it down into say the planning, the execution, and then the sustainment phases. So for example, in the planning phases, you'll be having lots of conversation, trying to understand the changes, the impact of the changes, and of course, planning on how to manage the change. And then when you get to the execution phase, your typical day will be more, you are more involved with all the execution activities, communication, engaging people, identifying resistance, planning for training and all of that. And, so I just felt maybe the hiring managers were trying to gauge our understanding of practical activities that is done in OCM. And if you can wake up to say, oh, this is how a change manager's day is always goes on, it's always fixed. Is it really?
So the what might be fixed, right? But the how is not fixed. So you know that there are certain things that you need to know. Like you need to build out a strategy, right? How you get the information to build that out might be different, right? Because some people, depending on the size of the change, might use like a survey technique to collect all the information and don't necessarily have conversation, right? Or have conversation with very, very few people. But then depending on an exchange person might literally interview everybody that is impacted, have several workshops to kind of get that information. So the what a change practitioner need to do on a day-to-day basis is very structured, but how they execute on these things will be different. So I don't think the answer that you have given the person is incorrect. And I do think that the hiring manager is really trying to scale whether or not the person really know what they're getting themselves into.
Now, I see Tayo's hand up, but before Tayo, before we let you ask your question. So, Marsh, said it's usually fixed, but the how may vary. Is the what fixed from phase to phase throughout the phase of a particular project, or does it also vary depending on the phase of the project?
It depends. It depends on the size of the project, right? But I must tell you what is consistent over the years.
Okay.
You go into a project, you make sure that you understand it, right? You know you're going to build out a plan. So that is a what, right? What you need to do. You know you have to build out a strategy. You know you have to engage people. You know you have to communicate to people. And you probably have to train people. Not all change require training, but most of all change require communication, right? So the what is very consistent for all the projects that I've ever been on, right? But I find that the action plans in terms of the activities for each project is different because not all change will be the same. And one of the things I've learned, sometimes you have you've developed a strategy and it worked well for one project. I said, oh, I'm just going to take this and copy it. And sometimes it's the same group that is impacted, but that strategy just doesn't work. So the what you keep on the how you keep on have to revise in how you execute, but you always know that these are the high level tasks that needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Tayo. You can come off mute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, Oge and Marsha. Two quick questions. One, how do you handle administrative bottlenecks as a change manager? Then the second question will have to be in the line of, would you say that project manager skills are directly transferable to being a change manager? Thank you.
All right. So let me answer the administrative part first. All right. Administrative bottlenecks. So Ogie will tell you that if you're not in my calendar, it's not happening, right? It's just I try to, and I think most people in terms of handling administrative bottlenecks, it's crazy, but I try to book time in my calendar to get things done outside of just meetings, right? And meeting with people. So if there's a document that I need to fill out, or if there's an email that I need to send, or if I need to do some review of, organization assets or stuff like that, I book that time in my calendar. right? And I tried to, when I just started out, I used to ignore it. But now I think I've mastered the skill of saying, if this is what this time is booked for, this is how I'm going to manage it and get stuff done, right? The other one is around project. I do believe that project management skills and change is there's certain, it is transferable. I do there are things that you need to upskill yourself in, of course, because the change manager needs to sit down and have conversation, which I do think the project manager do with the stakeholder. But the change impact assessment or understanding change impact is a critical task for a practitioner, right? Driving down into the details to understand how different teams are impacted. And I'm not talking just about direct impact, but also indirect impact. So if a process is going to change, what's the output of that process? And the change person needs, who received the output of that process and who needs to know about it. So change managers tend to drive down in way more detail than a project manager will. But I do think that a skill of the project manager, and if it's transferable. And I also believe that if it's a people, you need to have what I call people skill. Like you need to love to work with people because you're going to have all sorts of different attitudes that is coming at you. They can't bother to speak with you. They keep saying, okay, put you down like next week. And you as a person need to deal with that. A project manager tend to say, I need to meet you here. If you don't meet me at this time, it's a risk to the project. Escalate it, right? Change managers tend to be a little bit more patient and try to different ways to get the information and get people to meet. So that's the difference, I would say. Okay.
Thanks, Mash, for that. I want to add something to the last question about PM skills being transferable. I totally agree with Masha's point of view. And Ty, I would say prior to now, most PMs would typically perform OCM roles on projects. But we've realized that for very complex projects, the PM work is complex and large, voluminous enough, and then people lose track of the OCM responsibility. And then you see there's so much attention paid to the product side of the project, and the people side of the project kind of suffers. So there are transferable skills because the PM is coordinating, working with people that make the product come alive. And yes, so yeah, there are in my role, I've played both the role of I've done the project manager role and OCM. I've done BA and OCM roles, wearing both hats on projects. So again, it depends on the organization, how well they value OCM to set it apart and to kind of employ someone to man that role. But I want to go back to your first question about the admin bottlenecks. So I don't know if maybe I want to ask, do you want to explain what you meant by that bottleneck, or did Marsha's response address your questions? Just want to be sure your question was addressed before we move on to Maria Noel and then Tolu.
Yeah, she did a good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tayo. Tolu, we'll come to you next. So, but there's a question here, Maria, and I think it's very similar to Tayo's second question. Do you need to have do you need to have the knowledge of project management? I believe her question is, do you need to know project management to be able to do OCM very well? Maria, did I interpret your question correctly?
Yes, thank you.
No, you don't. But understanding project management is an asset, right? You don't need to know it, but simple form. Once you understand it, it's good, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mash. Tolu, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Right. Thank you so much, Oge. Thank you, Mash. We appreciate this effort. I have two questions. Number one is, what are the tools you use in change management? Aside the Proxima in ProSci, what other tools do you use and what are they used for?
Okay. So each organization different. So I noticed you mentioned Proxima. So I was working with an organization before that used Proxima, which was perfect. But for the most part, we use basic Microsoft Office tools, right? So let me explain that. From a strategy perspective or trying to understand impacts, I have an Excel template and it basically says current state, future state, and transitional activities, right? On a basic level. You go in, you schedule meetings with people, you try to understand what's the current state, what's the future, what's that change, and what is it that people need to know. Project management in terms of Microsoft Office project to develop your change management action plan. What is your change management action plan? It's basically all the tasks that you need to execute on for a project, right? So if you're going to meet with a stakeholder, that's an action or activity that you need to develop. Before you meet with the stakeholder, what is it that the stakeholders need to do to prepare, right? How many days you need to give them. So that's, you use Microsoft Office or Excel, the Microsoft Office, Microsoft Projects or Excel to build out that action plan. The other tool to get information, I use Microsoft Forms, SurveyMonkey. So these are just the basic tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, and every organization I've worked with use these tools. If they're, fancy, they will have Proxima, which is very good as well.
Thank you so much. So the second question is, for every project, a project manager is measured by the three constants: the scope, the timeline. We're able to meet the time. For OCM, how are they measured? What is the assessment? How is OCM assessed?
Okay, so what we'll do, right, is to determine what success look like, right? So you have to determine what are the change management objectives, and it's not quite like project management. It's more like, what does success look like for this project? Everyone using the tool that was, so let me give you an example. And I think I have one here. The organization is introducing a new productivity tool. So instead of doing stuff manually, they're doing, they've introduced automation. At the end of 9 months, the company want to ensure that all teammates are using the automated process versus the manual process. So you'd work with your business leader to say, okay, what is it that success look like? And they'll determine, okay, I want 90% of the people using it in 9 months. I want our 50 or 60. And we outline all of those different measures and then survey or probably system metrics to see if we have achieved what we have set out to achieve. So we determine success upfront. And even with training, have we trained all the persons that need to be trained within a specified time, right? From a communication perspective, we determine that, okay, if 300 people are impacted, we're going to survey, have all 300 persons heard about the project within a specified time and how they feel about it, right? So this is how we measure success of a change. Because remember, it's all about people, how people feel if they're actually switching and making that change. I hope I answered that question. Did I?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're on mute, Ogie.
Okay. Thanks, Marsh. So I have one question here. I'm on a project and I have BAs and I have project managers I'm working with. Can I rely on their deliverables, or do I have to go start afresh to get information about the project and begin to build out my CM deliverables?
In the ideal world, you should be able to rely on some of the deliverables, like a BA deliverable. You should be able to look at a BA impact assessment in terms of understanding current and future state and kind of pull information from that and then ask additional questions, because one of the things that you want to get out is how people work will change, right? A BA might not be digging to see if there's a behavioral change needed, right? Or if there's a compensation change, right? So you as a change manager should be able to take that output of some of the impacts that a BA might document and kind of dive deep to understand more how it impacts the different teams within an organization in an ideal world. If that doesn't exist, you will have to schedule meetings to kind of get more information. In reality, it happens every day. You never really get all the information that you're looking for. I find that if I'm working with a team, so last year, I find that if I'm working with a team and I'm working with the same team, like the project team, the deliverables get better. But every time you are introduced to a new project team, you will always have that challenge. But if you're on a project team for a while and you're doing different projects with them, the output, because it's like you start to gel and they kind of know what you want and what you're expecting. So what I'm trying to say, the first time you're on a project team, you're going to find that your work is a little bit harder. It gets easier if you continue with the same team.
Yeah, and this takes to the first question about being new to the project and not knowing what to do, not knowing what to ask. Would you also recommend they talk to the business analyst, if there's a business analyst on the project, to help them begin to understand what are the things that are changing, where what processes are changing, what IT system is changing, what people are impacted by the change, who are they gathering requirements from, for example?
Yes, 100%, right? Earlier, in my early stages, I definitely rely on the business analyst 100%, right? Because they tend to, along with your project manager, but I find that the business analysts tend to have more details about what is changing and the teams that are being impacted across the board, right? So their documents or output tend to be a little bit more wholesome, while the project manager tend to stay at a higher level. So as a change practitioner, I do think if you're on a team, you stick very close to the BA. I do recommend working with the different members on the team, right? Because they all carry different expertise and they're a representation of different teams that are impacted. So always look closely on your project team. Your project team tend to build based on how to make the project successful. So each role on a project team is like a hint to say maybe this team is being impacted, right? However, bring it back to the BA would know all of that and kind of guide you accordingly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Marsh. Thanks. While we are waiting for any more questions, because we just have 8 minutes and I want us to respect everybody's time. Guys, I just want to quickly share some information about our upcoming OCM training, but feel free to still drop your questions in the chat, okay? Let me know if you can see my screen.
I can.
Okay. Okay. So we are starting our OCM, I call it practical training. We don't what we focus on is to equip people with the skills, practical skills to get work done, not typically to pass exams. But so if you are looking at transitioning and becoming a practicing change manager, you should consider joining this training. We go very, very practical to the how-tos, how to go about every type of change management deliverables, from planning up until the sustainment of the change. We provide you with a framework, what to do per time, what to do at the beginning of your project, people to engage. For example, Masha shared a checklist of the kind of questions you should start with, and also we have a community where we kind of support each other even after the training. So the training duration is typically 8 weeks. The next one is starting on the 10th of October. And the meeting times are Tuesdays and Saturdays, so the time you can see on the screen. We also kind of recommend group working sessions, but that is usually agreed by the team after the classes start. And we recommend you dedicate 8 hours a week if you are considering to join us for this program. Part of also what we do, because most people that join this program, some people that have joined in the past just want to get OCM. I call it, they just want to stack the skill. They want to stack an OCM skill to their BA or their PM skills. But if you are looking to transition and get an OCM job, part of what we also do is to practice situational questions that would help you ace your interview. So that is also part of the deal. You get it weekly. The next slide here is okay. So this is just at the high level, the outline, the training outline, all the things we'll cover. So from assessing change management skills to understanding how what organizational change management is about and how it happens within organization. Masha is going to be leading you to how you would conduct your change readiness assessment, scope for change, risk assessment. How do you identify resistance and plan to manage them? Stakeholder analysis. How do you perform change impact assessment? She mentioned that is a very critical task or activity a change manager needs to do on projects. How do you develop the various change management plan you need to work with? So this is just a high level of what you will learn in 8 weeks, and of course will help you prepare for your interview, help you build out your resume. Okay. If you have questions, please put it in the chat and we can address it. So typically the price for this training is 8,500 if you want to pay one time. But if you want to do a 3 monthly payment, we can we also do allow that, but it comes at a little extra charge because of the admin cost of multiple payments. However, because you joined us this evening for this session, we are offering you a discount that is only available until Saturday evening. And it's for only those that are on this call. If you feel OCM is for you, you want to do this, you want to jump into this, and which I recommend, because the rate of change in technology, organizations are undergoing change rapidly. From we see cloud-based systems that have increased the rate at which organizations deploy IT solutions, and that is change. Someone needs to manage change, and organizations are becoming wiser that, we need to build change management competence. Now we see generative AI, and that even introduces more change. So even if you are a BA, you are a PM, getting practical change management knowledge is what it should be part of your to-do list right now. Okay, so for joining this session today, very limited time offer, you can pay 1,200 for a one-time payment or a reduced 3 multiple payment of 447 Canadian dollars. Now, I also have one announcement to make. Yeah, we also we've partnered with ProSci to deliver the ProSci Change Practitioner Certification Exam. So for those of you that are maybe you are looking at, for now you want to just get the certification and then later you look at getting the practical training. They are two different things, okay? They're not the same. A 3-day ProSci change management training, it's ideal for someone that is experienced, just to, the icing on the cake. But if you are starting out as a change manager, I would recommend you get practical training. But maybe for you want to get the certification, you have experience already. We are partnering with ProSci to bring this to our clients, to our students, and our prices are very, very attractive because we had to go negotiate to say, oh, we have some very, very hardworking people that we want this to get to their hands, right? So we had to negotiate a very, very good deal. If you go to ProSci website, it's about 4,000 Canadian dollars. If you convert that, that is slightly above 3,000, but we've negotiated a great deal for anyone out there that wants to get the certification. With 1,600 USD, we can make it happen for you, but we need at least 8 people for ProSci to make this happen for us. And then if you join our training, whether it's business analysis, project management, or change management, you get a further discount to get your ProSci certification. So I want to leave you with that. We just have 1 more minute here. Let me see if we have any other question. Or Marsh, if you have any closing, if you have any remarks or comments. So please, this price is just only available. The certification training is, it doesn't change, it's fixed. But for being on this call this night, if you're interested in joining the change management training, you can take advantage of this offer. Okay. Let me see. Do we have any? No, I don't see any question here. Let me check YouTube. Marsh, if you have any comment, please go ahead.
So I guess what I have to say is that change management, I'm passionate about change management. It's an interesting field. I do think that it's a good area for people to get into if you love dealing with people, like to help people navigating different changes. Change management is a field that you should look into, right? Or different challenges, just overcoming different challenges. If you feel like that's the place, this is the right place for you. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can also send your comments, questions at info@polar.com, and we'll respond to any additional queries that you might have. Okay.
Yeah, and before I forget, so we also have this Q&A for the project management class. So if you're interested in project management, we have a Q&A session just like this tomorrow evening, same time, 7 p.m. EST. So if you're interested, please do register, I think, or if you're, what we'll do is also to send, if you're on our mailing list, you'll definitely get that invite to join tomorrow. So please keep a date with us. I see Tolu says this is a very good deal. Yes, she recently took her ProSci certification. So she knows we've gone to negotiate real good deal for you. Yeah, and the deadline for the promotional price is on Saturday, 11 p.m. EST. Okay, 11 p.m. EST. That is the deadline for that prize, and it's only for those that were on this call. We have the attendance, so yes. Okay, if we don't have any question, and Marsh said if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to her, reach out to me, send us an email, and we'll try to address your questions. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We would make a recording available in case you want to go back to check or maybe confirm some responses you got. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ijoma. Good night. Bye, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thank you so much. Bye.